Hey everybody, this is Steve with Smitty's Flybox. Today we are tying a JellyStone. So this is a good early season stone, high water, nice and weighted with a tungsten bead and buggy looking. So we're going to tie this on a Daiichi hook with a tungsten 4.8 bead. This is in the size 8 hook, and I've got 6/0 thread. So I'm just going to lay down a good thread base, get our thread started along the hook shank, and take it back to our tie-in point directly above the barb of the hook. Right up in there somewhere. And for the tail, we're going to use some Goose biots. So I'm going to take 2 of those and trim those up. And then we'll turn those so they're back to back, and then they'll fork out for us, like so. Let's carefully slide those right there in that tie-in point, gather them, and make a few good turns, and make sure they're tied down right there back at our tie-in point, and that they fork out how we want. Something like that. Okay, now let's take our thread back to our bend right there. And I'm going to use some D-rib for the JellyStone. So it has a flat side like a D, and we're going to take that flat side and face us and just try to hold it steady right there along the side of the hook shank. And we'll just slightly stretch that as we tie it down to our tie-in point directly above the barb of the hook. And let's turn around and kind of repeat that step with some thin skin. So I've cut a nice strip of thin skin, a little bit less than the width of the bead, and let's just lay that right on top and secure that, and just stretch that just slightly, just a little bit, back to our tie-in point. And we can begin working on the abdomen of the fly. So what I'm going to use, I've got some diamond dub, Arizona diamond dub. I really like this stuff for nymphs. It's got a little bugginess to it, a little shorter fibers than, say, like a leech dubbing. Now for the abdomen, I'm just going to put a small, I'm not going to build it up much at all. I'm just laying down and just kind of covering up what we've already done. And you're really not going to see that, but it does create a little bit of a two-tone underbody or two-tone abdomen, especially when we tie a golden one where we have a brighter dubbing. It really shows through this D-rib. So, but you know, it's a little more subtle, but when it gets wet in the light, it does create a little bit of a two-tone look. All right, I've just pulled that thin skin over, and I'm going to tie that down and secure that. I'm not going to snip off this excess. Now let's take our JellyStone, our D-rib, and create that abdomen of the fly. Just working our way forward. And once I hit that thin skin, just pull that back out of the way, and let's just make one turn up underneath, and that's where we can tie that down. 2, 3, and now we can snip off that excess, like so. All right, now let's just tie down this right there, pull that back, and let's just tie our thread back on top of everything and reposition that wing case just slightly back from the bend. So we're almost creating a half and a half fly, half abdomen, half thorax. Something like that. Now we can begin working on that thorax. So we'll start with some dubbing and just kind of work our way forward. I'm going to start with a pretty good little ball right there, right at the wing case, about like that. And now we can take our set of legs. We'll take one of each, and I'll just take this one at a time. And we'll position those right there and Make sure we tie those in nice and firm. And try to evenly have those splay out or V out. All right, now we'll continue to dub. I'm going to get a little more aggressive with the dubbing now to fill in that thorax. So let's start here right between those legs. Let's pull the legs back out of the way and come right up underneath. And we'll go right up into the bead and try to fill in that little gap behind the bead. Now this is one you could put lead wire up against the bead if you wanted it really heavy, if you're fishing real heavy water. Smaller water, this tungsten should create enough weight for you. All right, now what we're gonna do is, this is optional if you'd like. I've got some hen cape that we sent with the box from Whiting Farms. And we'll just take one of these feathers and just peel back kind of that stem and tie that in there right behind the bead. And try to get a good, nice, tight. We're gonna start building a little collar right there. And all I'm gonna do is make about 1.5 turns with this feather. And that creates like a soft tackle type look. Just adds a little bugginess to it. We'll just hold that feather with our right hand, the tip, drop our thread over with the left hand. I'm just working right behind the bead, and we'll carefully snip that off. And now just pull everything back, and let's just continue building that little collar and tying down some of those soft tackle feathers. And it looks pretty good. All right, now we can pull our wing case over and align that right behind the bead and make a couple of good turns right there with that and help that bite down into that thin skin. And now we can trim off the excess. All right, now I'm just going to come right back again and tie that down and cover up any little imperfections. All right, looks pretty good. Now another optional step, if you would like to add, we can add some antenna. So I'll go back to my biot, and one at a time, we'll place a biot on the side of the bead and just work on that collar that we've created. And you're gonna get a little butt section in there. So you gotta come in there and find that and trim that off like that. And let's just do that same thing on the opposite side. Try to even those out best we can, and we'll tie him down. And pop that butt off there. All right, now we got a little bit of a mess there on that collar, but now's a good time to add a little, if you want to do a little UV glue or just a little super glue. I'm just going to drop a little super glue that comes down the side just slightly and just helps hold everything together. And to add a little cleanup there to the collar, I'm just going to put a little tiny collar of dubbing just to cover up some of those imperfections maybe and add to it. All you need is about 1 turn. And now we can whip finish right there behind the bead. All right, one last thing I like to do, those legs are kind of bright, so I'm going to mark those up, give them a little bugginess to them, and then we'll trim those up how we like them, and pretty good little brown stone there.